zooming it. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and all of you potential Toastmasters out there who I hope are watching today. Welcome to Wake Up with Toastmasters. I am your District 115 Club Growth Director, Ken Richardson, and with me today is my co-host, Distinguished Toastmaster, past District Governor, Phyllis Tribby. Hi, Phyllis.
Good morning, Ken, and good morning to our public out there. Don't forget to send us a hello on Facebook.
Absolutely. Please let us know you're out there. You can find us on facebook.com/TMD115CGD. That's our Facebook page, and that's where this video is posted. Later, it will also be posted on the D115 website by our always prepared is what I'm looking for. It's too early. I haven't had enough coffee yet.
Conscientious.
Yes, conscientious. Thank you. That's a good word. Our conscientious public relations manager, Jennifer Smith. Anyway, to the topic at hand. This is election season, and we're not talking just about club elections. It's also time for elections at the district level and, come August, at the international level. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start at the club level and look at very basic notions of elections and what the club needs to do for elections and who's up for election and what they need. And then we're going to move on to the district elections. And then finally, we will wrap it up by looking at the international elections. And I've discovered that a lot of people don't know a lot about our governing board and how those elections are run. So we'll spend a little bit more time on the TI website. It's still running. We talked yesterday about the upcoming downtime, but it is still up and running. And it has a wealth of information. One might say a plethora of information on who the candidates are and how our government is structured. So let me see if I can pull up my PowerPoint. I got to get that, how that goes. I have my PowerPoint.
Made at 4 a.m. this morning. People
I did, yes.
I
got up this morning because I thought I was going to have time to do this last night, and I didn't. There was a regional conference on Zoom that started at 8 o'clock. And didn't finish until 9:30, so I didn't have and as you know, I usually get up around 4 anyway, so that was kind of late for me. But let's start with our clubs and talk about our clubs. And I think everybody can see this and they know who those club officers are that are up for election. And that's a president, the vice president of education, vice president of membership, vice president of public relations, the secretary, treasurer, and of course the sergeant at arms are all elected officers within the club. Now, if your club meets weekly and your officers are elected annually, their term of office is July 1 through June 30. Now, if your club meets other than weekly and your officers are semi-annual in terms of how they are elected, the terms are July 1 through December 31, and then January 1 through June 30. And the thing that we want to emphasize today, Phyllis, is don't forget to enter your new officers. The results of your election needs to be shared with TI. If not, you will not get a credit where credit is due. That was always the thing that, we made sure in my club in Early Risers that we did that because those are slam dunk points.
Yeah,
you get
absolutely. Very easy point to get. Well,
go ahead.
It's actually a half point, but yeah.
Well, okay. Because it's twice a year, is that the
Well, the
that-
half point is that you get a half a point for getting your officer list in on time, which would be June 30th.
right?
But also a half point goes with that. You have to get both halves, is to have your dues in. Dues are
Oh, that's
collected
right. Yeah.
twice a month, or twice a year. So one of those payments has to be in by the due date. So you get the
Yeah.
half point for that, half point for officers list.
And both of those ought to be. I was so focused on election, I wasn't thinking about dues, but yeah, both of those ought to be slam dunks for the club. By that meaning, hey, this is a no-brainer. You submit the data, you get your payments in, and then you get the points. So I think everyone, hopefully, is getting ready for this right now. And as we talked about, though, we've got to recognize that the computer, hopefully, it's supposed to be completely back up and running by the end of May. So we hope that that is true, so that folks can get all of this information in to Club Central and TI no later than June 30. You want to make sure you don't miss that deadline. You want to get that in. And of course, you want to get any dues payments, get your dues payments in too. So pay everything on time and follow the appropriate procedure. So club elections.
Can I
Oh,
go over
sure.
this list again? Because
Sure.
it is my understanding that if you meet weekly, which means 52 weeks a year, then your officers are only elected for 6 months at a time. But if you meet twice a month or once a month, then your officers would be elected for 1 full year. Is that the way you understand it?
I thought it was the opposite of that, but we're going to go to the TI website. I want to make sure that we don't give incorrect information. So we're going to go to the TI website here in a little bit so that we can show folks how to look up information on the international candidates. And what we'll do at that time is also we'll spend a little bit of time showing folks how to search in the search bar for club election information. They can also look in the their club constitution and bylaws and policies and procedures to make sure that they have it absolutely correct. In any event, you know how your officers are elected. And in my club, we elect them annually, and we are a weekly club at Early Risers. So we elect July 1 through June 30, and that's just sort of been standard in our club. Our immediate past president serves as the nomination. Can't talk this morning. The nominations chair, and he or she will put together a committee and present a slate of recommended officers. So we'll
perhaps it depends on the club then. Maybe it can be part of the addendum that we talked about to the procedures and policies of Toastmasters International, that the club decides how long the officers are going to.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that because I know there have been some changes over the years, and I want to make sure that we give good information. So we want to make sure that we give all of our clubs the reference of where they need to go to look at these things, and we'll take care of that in just a moment.
Okay.
All right, let's talk a minute about district officers elections. Now, the way this functions is our immediate past district director serves as the district leadership chairperson, and he or she puts together a committee with representation from all of our divisions, A, B, C, and D, and then comes up with a slate of officers or recommended officers for district officer positions. And then there's a period where floor candidates can also submit their applications. Now, there is a deadline for that because they do need to be properly vetted to make sure that they meet qualifications. So this year, this is the slate of officers that we have. District Director, Gene Williams. I'm honored to have been selected to run for Program Quality Director. So that's the next step in the process. I'm so thrilled with that. Our candidate for Club Growth Director is Scott Transu, who is he's actually the area A3 director right now, but he came to us, I think, from New York. So he has been a division director and area director in New York, and he now lives in Las Vegas, and we're happy to have him as part of the team. Division A director, Larry Johnson. Division B, Anita Della Croce. Division C, Phyllis Wall. And Division D, Jennifer Smith. So we have a wonderful slate of officers. We don't really have a contested office this year, but that's going to be decided actually Sunday by the district council. The district council votes along with the district executive committee for officer elections at their annual business meeting, and that will be online this Sunday. And if you're curious about that, who's on that committee, well, it's the district executive committee plus all of the area directors and division directors. That makes up the council. I think I have a slide on that too. Yes, here we go. So the district council is made up of the district executive committee. We've talked about this in the prior meeting, and that plus the club presidents and club VPEs. And a lot of people don't realize that, but those are the voting members at the district level. Any comments about that, Phyllis?
No, not
Okay.
really, no.
Okay.
We all know what the district executive committee is. Like
yes.
You just mentioned, it's all those people that are serving in the district officers, not only the top three, but the area directors, division directors, and all the way up.
Yeah, I can tell you, I don't have a slide on this, but because we've covered it before, but the executive committee at the district level is the district director, the program quality director, and the club growth director. So you have the trio in there. Then the administration manager, the finance manager, we'll talk about those positions in a moment. Those are appointed positions. The public relation managers, then all the division directors, area directors, and the immediate past district governor. Now, here we go. Here are the appointed district positions. We just went over the elected positions. The trio and the district directors are all elected by the district council. The appointed positions are appointed by the district director, and we have 16 area directors. We have 4 areas in each of our 4 divisions, and we need area directors. That's something that we don't have as many candidates. So if any of our listeners out there are interested in becoming an area director, I encourage you to go to the website or contact me at my email address, and we'll connect you with the leadership committee and get you set up. The public relations manager, administration manager, finance manager, and the logistics manager are all appointed positions. And people might be saying, well, what's an administration manager? Well, the administration manager is roughly the equivalent of the district secretary. In fact, I think that used to be the title, but they changed it to administration manager. And the finance manager, of course, that's self-explanatory. The logistics manager is the district sergeant at arms. Now, additional appointed positions that we talked about. It takes a lot of folks really to keep the district running smoothly. And we're lucky to have such a wonderful team within our district and folks who have stepped up to leadership positions. But we have a parliamentarian, that's this year it's Kate Hollis, and she keeps us in line, make sure that we follow Robert's rules and stay within the guidelines of Toastmasters International. We have an operations committee, and aren't you on that committee this year, Phyllis?
I actually am the operations committee chair. Yes.
And what does the operations committee do?
Actually, the operations chair run the committee It actually is not a Toastmaster year, but it overlaps. So it runs from January 1st through December the 1st. And what they do is update our operations manual so that if there are changes that come down from Toastmasters International and we don't have them the same in our operations manual, or things that just come up that we'd like to have changed. Also, part of the operation manual are some exhibits, and the exhibits have to do with the awards that are given out each year by the district. So we can keep a record, kind of a historical record of who won what awards were given out. There is an award for like couple for Mr. and Mrs. Toastmaster of the Year.
Really?
So those things are recorded so that we have a history.
So I don't think a lot of people realize that we have those type of awards. That's maybe something that we could ask our public relations manager to promote more. Now, you mentioned that the operations committee is kind of on a different calendar year. There's some overlap. What's the reason behind that?
Well, we get the things from the previous year to the current year, and things may change from one year to the next. There's part of it that goes into the operations manual is your realignments for the next year. So those would need to be added if there's going to be any. And those would happen on a Toastmaster year, not a calendar year. So it's just kind of overlapping to be sure that everything is continued on, that it's not just dropped on the 30th and then somebody has to hunt through the material for the next, next meeting for the district meetings.
So it facilitates the transition, I think, is what I hear you saying, from one year to the next by having a certain amount of overlap. Yeah, and I think that brings up a good point, because many people think that the outgoing officer's role ends on June 30, but that's not really true. The good ones are serving as mentors for their successors. So you may have a couple of months overlap, and that's a good thing because that helps ensure some continuity and hopefully makes the transition more seamless. Some other positions that we have are realignment chair. The realignment committee is charged with looking at the balance in our areas and divisions. If we have a number of new clubs, for example, we may need to realign because you can't have more than 6 clubs in an area. It's not less than 3 or more than 6, I believe, is the way it's stated in the bylaws. And if you have added new clubs, you may need to realign those so that there's balance between the areas within a division and between the divisions overall. And that is the task of the realignment chair, who generally puts together a committee and makes a proposal near the end of the year about what the district, how its alignment should be. Then we have our protocol chair, who makes sure that we are following proper protocols. We have a credentials chair as well. And the two are not the same. People often think they are, but the credentials chair is concerned with making sure that people who are voting have been properly credentialed. For example, if your club is not in good standing, then your club representatives are not eligible to vote. That would be your president and VPE. So the credentials chair is charged with making sure that everyone who signs up to vote is in fact eligible to vote. Whereas the protocol chair makes sure that we follow proper procedures in terms of recognizing our dignitaries and how folks are, even things like seating at the annual conference, those kinds of things are handled by the protocol chair. We also have a very important audit chair. We have an audit committee, and that's an important role, is to audit our finances at the end of each fiscal year. I think it's due by August. Is that right, Phyllis? You were
I'm on the committee, but I just wait for Phil Bateman, who is the current chair, call me and we go over it. Yes. And it's very easy now. Most everything is handled by Toastmasters International. So you're already feeding everything to them and they download stuff. So you just have to approve what's been done.
Well,
it matches up with the money and everything works well.
Exactly. Make sure that it's all, everything is handled appropriately and that there's checks and balances within the system. And this audit is what really helps to make that, give our members some assurances that we are handling district funds appropriately. So the audit chair and the audit committee completes their work, and then I believe it has to be signed off by the incoming trio. I want to say August. It's one of the things is the policies and procedures, bylaws, and constitution are fairly complex documents. And I know when I have a specific question, I have to go to the website, look things up again. And even then, sometimes I can't find what I'm looking for, and we'll have to, but the staff at TI are very good about answering questions. I did mention earlier the district leadership committee. The chair of that committee is not really appointed, but it's sort of inherited, I guess you could say. Yeah. It's the immediate past district director. And this year that is Kristen Harrell, and she's done a magnificent job. In fact, all of our committees, I have to say, we're so lucky in District 115 to have just a terrific team of people who care about the district and who are committed to making things the best they possibly can be. Okay, let's talk a minute about international elections, because they're coming up too in August. I'm going to stop screen sharing. This is the link, and I'll show again when we get to the website where this is. So I'm going to stop sharing this if you'll allow me, and then I'm going to go find, let's see, I had this called up. Bear with me a minute here, because once again, it's not behaving the way I think it should. Hang on. In the meantime, anything else that you want to?
Well, we might tell you that there are a few other, appointed offices.
Okay, what did I miss here?
Well, maybe not to those, but most people always appoint a district chief judge.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't want to discount our chief judge.
And then sometimes they appoint a person that takes all the photographs.
Okay, yeah.
So those are a couple of appointed officers. Some other officers that
maybe a web manager. Yeah.
Yeah. Web manager, definitely.
Yes. Very good. Well, we mentioned that the elections are coming up in August, and you may be asking yourself a little bit about the structure for the international elections and, in fact, the board. If you go under this first little tab here where it says About, you'll see a list of things all about Toastmasters, et cetera, et cetera. And the one we're focusing on is the second level. Here is the board of directors. And this gives you a little summary. Basically, there are 19 elected officers and directors plus the CEO. And the CEO is Dan Rex, but he's ex officio, so he doesn't have voting privileges. It's this the 19 elected officers and directors that make all of those decisions. Now, I will say, let me go here to, if you could look at this, you've got information on the board, meeting minutes, proposals, FAQs, of course, advisory committee. But I want to go down here for a moment where it says international officer and director candidates, because this is where our members can find a host of information about the candidates. So each candidate will have posted some information. For example, Morag Matheson is the candidate for international president-elect. And as you can see, she is running unopposed for this position. Rade Spears running for first vice president. Stefano McGee, second vice president. And then, okay, there are two candidates for second vice president. Let me get back up here. Just the one candidate for first vice president. So those two, the top two levels, international president-elect and first vice president, are running uncontested. The candidates for second vice president, however, those are contested, so those will be very important for folks to vote. And the people who vote at the international level, it's actually a little different. You still have your club presidents, but instead of the VBE, it's actually the club secretary. I have no clue why that's different. We'll take a look here in a moment and see if show folks where the Constitution and bylaws can be found. But anyway, after the officers, then you're going to find information on candidates for international director. These are the two candidates. We are in Region 2. I don't know if many of our viewers knew that, but we are in Region 2. We have two excellent candidates for the position. Robert Carvello, I think that's how he pronounces that name, yes. And Jesse Oakley III. Many folks might know those two. So you'll find that for those regions who are up, and it's usually about half and half, isn't it, Phyllis? They have every year, half of the directors are elected, and then so that you don't have a complete turnover all at once. Is that correct?
It's elected for 2 years, and that is true. They consider it the junior partner and the senior partner. So yes, they are elected 2 years, and they're offset so that we always have 2 regional directors at all times.
And that's a great system because you have built-in mentors.
Yeah.
That you can work with who can sort of show you the world. So I don't want to favor either one of our candidates. So I'm going to go down here. These are the Region 4 candidates. And I just want to show folks the wealth of information. So if you click on this little option down here, learn more about Kimberly, you'll get a ton of information. What region, how long has this person been a Toastmaster? What's their education? What role have they served? Things like, we know that Kimberly, when she was a district director, her district was select distinguished. That's just always a good thing to know. Talks about officers, officer positions held, and experience. So there's a narrative here about work experience, strategic planning, and then most of the candidates will have, you can see here, there's a website that you can go to. I don't want to go to that right now, but if anyone's interested, they can select that and go to that. And many have a Facebook page as well. So there's a lot of information, and the challenge is to sort of familiarize yourself with these candidates before you're in a position to vote. The other thing I will say is that many times the club presidents and club secretaries will give proxies to their district director to vote on their behalf. Is that your experience? When you were district director, how was that process? Has it changed somewhat?
Well, it's all done by a little handheld computer now, but I have been around when they actually collected the paper votes. And so you would have to sit there in your chair and mark all of the ballots that people had given you as a proxy. And that's usually the easiest way to do it. You'll get an email and you can assign your vote to the district director.
Gotcha.
And they're the ones that are going to go out and interview each and every one of these people that are running and know who they really want to vote for, who they think will, do the best job. But So I noticed here that, if I were doing my questions for this particular person, I would ask her about the district support team, which we're trying to get going here. So that would be one of my questions to her. So this is a good place, not only for our members, but also our new elected officers to find the questions that you need to ask these people to be sure that they are who you want to be the governing body of Toastmasters International.
Exactly correct, because the trio does interview these candidates, and there's actually a little mini workshop. I can't remember when it's coming up, but pretty soon, I think there's a little workshop that really anyone can attend, but I think it's targeted toward the trio, and the title of the workshop is "Getting the Most Out of Your International Candidate Interviews."
Oh.
So that's another great thing. I know we're running a little bit behind. It's 6:30 already. We always get into these things, and it seems like maybe we need an hour. I don't know. But I do want to show folks, I don't know if you can see the little search box up here in the right-hand corner. It's on the screen, and you can see that I just clicked on that. And if you go in here and type in like club, we were talking about this earlier, officer elections, and hit enter, you're going to get a list of like club officer elections. Here's the content. Some of these that I did some looking into, actually, it's mentioned in there, but like this election toolkit is for district officers. So if you click on this first item that comes up, this will explain the club officer elections. It talks about a quorum. It talks about making sure things are submitted into Club Central. And then there's this section here, the club constitution and bylaws. And if you click on that, it's going to take you to all of the resources that are available to clubs that they can, these are glossary of the governing documents, and then over here on the right, your articles, bylaws, district administrative bylaws, and then here's your club constitution for clubs. So I'm going to click, and purple, if you click on that, you get a drop-down menu. Purpose, membership, dues and fees, meetings. So pretty much everything that you want, and you can click on, let's see here, officers. And it'll take you right to the section on officers and talks about the officers and the credit they get, the term of office we were talking about. Officers shall serve for terms of 1 year, provided that if and only if this club meets weekly throughout the year. So that would be in your addendum that we were talking about. So those are for weekly clubs. For semi-annual, it talks about July 1 and June 30 that we were discussing before. And then here it does get a little more into elections for the officers who serve 1 year. Those elections shall be held at the first club meeting in May each year, with the officers to take over in July. For those officers with half-year terms, they shall be held at the first club meetings in May also, and November, and then take over in January or July. And then it goes into vacancies and what have you, and club duties. So again, I'm going to stop sharing here. Anything you want to comment for? I know we're running a little bit late. Anything you want we need to comment on before?
No, other than, it is phenomenal how much information this website has for us. If we have questions, don't just call International or ask them. See if you can find it, because you're going to find so much more information.
Yeah, and when I was working on today's show and talking about elections and looking up some of this stuff, I went through a lot of information, and you're right, it's just wonderful that it's there, but sometimes it's a little overwhelming, and you don't always find the answers that you're looking for. Some of the mechanics that are required, for example, are not very detailed. As we just saw, it just says you have your election May 1st, but there's not a lot of detail on the mechanics. So that's a policy that you might want to follow up on. And as I mentioned earlier, you can contact the staff at TI and ask them more specific questions. If you couldn't find the answer in the governing documents, you'll be able to find someone there who will help you, either working the staff that responds to club questions and district questions. They're kind of segmented so that you can target your question to the staff person most likely to be able to find an answer. And they're very responsive. They've been a little slower with the computer system struggling right now in the updates. But in general, if you go to the website and you look at the contact information, it'll give you a list of categories of your questions and whom you should contact. So again, there's a wealth of information there. If you do have questions, go to the website, look up the governing documents, and you can just do it like we did. Just do a search for whatever your topic might be, and you'll get a list of options. Well, anyway, I think we could go on and on about elections and probably break them down even more. But if you have questions that you've been unable to find an answer, please feel free to send me an email at d115cgd@gmail.com. If you'd like to be on our show, remember this show is on Monday through Friday. Phyllis and I are your hosts for Tuesdays and Thursdays. But on Mondays and Fridays, it's our program quality director, Jean Williams, and her co-host, Jean Dunford. And then on Wednesdays, our public relations manager, Jennifer Smith. And I think Jean is also her co-host. So you have plenty of opportunities. Come on the show and let's talk about your Toastmasters journey. And let's promote your club. Talk about your club. Anything else you want to say, Phyllis, before we wrap up?
We love to have visitors. Come on and ask us questions. Give us a chance to stump the audience.
Yeah, folks probably get tired of hearing us banter back and forth. And even though we do our best to make sure we give accurate, educational, updated information, it's still good to hear about your individual journeys because there's nothing more interesting than stories. We learn that in Toastmasters, right? And telling us your story about your journey is always fantastic. So we will say goodbye for today. We'll hopefully see everyone this Saturday at the, well, not everyone, but we'll see a lot of our members at the convention this Saturday. And we'll be back again next week. In the meantime, stay safe and have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.